I had an email today from a student asking how to get the best out of their lessons, and I thought it might make a good YouTube video. Stay tuned. So today what I thought we'd do is split the answer into actually 3 separate parts. Before you do the lesson, during the lesson, and then after the lesson. Let's start with number 1. It's great that you've decided that you want to take some guitar lessons. There's a few different things that you should think about before taking private lessons. Number 1 is to have a look around your area and see who is available. Do a Google search on lessons near me or guitar lessons your suburb or city or whatever. Check out Google reviews, different reviews on Facebook maybe, see if they have any kind of online presence, see what they've done in the past. Are they a working musician? I think it's a really good idea to sort of check that sort of stuff out first. Number 2, once you've identified a few people, maybe have a chat over the phone. That way you can kind of start to see if you guys are going to get on. I think that's almost one of the most important things, that you have some kind of rapport from the start. The other important part in this section is to really think about what you want to get out of lessons. What are your goals? So do you want to learn better soloing techniques, or do you want to learn a particular solo or a particular song? Or are you starting from scratch and want to make sure that you've got good technique before you sort of head down the internet YouTube wormhole? Do you want to be able to learn songs by ear by yourself? Add that into your sort of previous search where you've looked for different guitar teachers and see what they specialize in. Another part of the goals and what you want to learn is it's very important that you choose stuff that you want to learn. Just going to a guitar teacher going, okay, teach me stuff, they don't necessarily know exactly what you want out of lessons. In my experience of teaching guitar, the most successful lessons have always been with people who know pretty much what they want. Of course, I'm happy to suggest, and if they say, I want to learn this kind of style, then I can suggest something around that area, but you've really got to take control of the lesson to a certain degree. Don't be too passive in deciding what you want to do. Because when it comes to practicing, if you're practicing something that you're not 100% engaged in, it really does make it much, much harder for you. So for example, if I went to a guitar lesson, they chose something that I just really wasn't really into, sort of super heavy stuff, which is not my bag at all. When I get home and I'm like, fine, getting there and I'm getting to a hard part of it, it's going to be really hard work, to be honest. And you're not going to get the best out of your lesson from that. Whereas, you know, if we were doing, I don't know, Curtis Mayfield or something, I'd be pretty into that. And I'd be like, oh yeah, this sounds great. And you know, then you have extra time for it, if you know what I mean. So the next part of our conversation today is what you do during the lesson. The number 1 thing I would suggest is, if you can, record the lesson in any way. I've got students who record it on their phone via audio. I've obviously been doing a lot of lessons via Zoom recently, so people have actually been videoing the whole lesson. And that way it allows you to go back after the lesson's finished during your practice if you've forgotten something or missed something, because there's a lot of things going on in an hour that, you know, whilst you are engaged in the lesson and listening, you might miss. And when you get to have a chance to look over them again, you might get something extra out of the lesson that otherwise you would have missed. The second thing is, always ask your teacher to provide you clear instruction. So whether that's charts, whether that's like a video to help you out with a particular technique so you can't forget how it goes. In the charts that they explain exactly how all the bits work, so that when you're at home and you're looking at the sheet of music, you don't think, oh crikey, what does that mean? I've got no idea. And then you can't practice it and then you're stuck. So make sure that the instructions are clear throughout the lesson. The last thing in this section, it sounds really obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway, is listen. Listen during the lesson. Don't play guitar over the teacher. Like, that is my major pet hate. I think in lessons I'm trying to explain something and I just hear you've really got to listen, but also listen from a different point of view. I mean, as in, if the teacher is suggesting a particular exercise or technique that it's worthwhile learning to get to your goal, even if initially you don't really see how that's going to work, I would definitely recommend that you listen to them and hear what they're saying and actually go away and give it a go. Try and keep an open mind to things. That will definitely help you get the most out of your lessons. Okay, the third thing I want to talk about is what you do after the lesson. The number one thing I think is to create a clear practice schedule which is actually achievable. Now, you come out your first lesson, you're super pumped. Yeah, I did a guitar lesson, this is great. I'm going to be awesome at playing the guitar in no time. Don't try and take too much on. That's going to be very hard. So set a clear and manageable practice schedule. So like you practice half an hour on Monday, half an hour on Wednesday, half an hour on Saturday, or 3/4 of an hour, or whatever you want to do, right? Whatever fits in with your life. Don't make it become a chore, right? Otherwise, you know, you're going to end up resenting doing the practice, particularly when it gets hard, right? And there's a bit you can't get and you have to work and work and work on it. So when you are practicing, make sure that you are focused on a particular task. So maybe that's, you know, learning an arpeggio or learning a tricky bit of a song, or even, you know, if you're learning new chords and you're completely new at the guitar and you've got a song that's got G major, C major and D major in it, for example, just practicing going backwards and forwards between C and G, C, G, C, G is going to be super, super useful. The next part of practicing is always to try and use a metronome. That will keep you honest, if you like, and also really, really help with your timing. Because timing is something that's going to be very key to you being a good guitar player. The next thing is to play with other people. I know that can be a bit disconcerting at the beginning, but honestly, get together with a friend of yours that can already play something. It doesn't really matter what you play at all, as long as you're playing together, because that will help your timing a great deal and just generally help your general musicianship. And it's also fun. You have a few drinks or a cup of tea or whatever you want to do when you're playing together, and you really both will get something out of it. And the final thing I wanted to talk about today is after your lesson, when you're practicing, just have some patience with yourself. Nobody in the history of guitar playing has got the thing the first time round. Make sure you go slower at the beginning. So let's say the tempo is 100 beats a minute of the thing you're learning. Try it first at 60, even 50. Get the changes first, you know, G, D, G, D. Get the idea of what you need to do in the solo first, sort of map it out. Think about, cut it up in phrases. All of these things will help stop the frustration from setting in and you putting the guitar down and storming out the room. So I know it can be hard, but please try and be kind with yourself and have just a bit of patience and accept that you're not going to get it the first time. You might not even get it the 5th time, you know? You've got to keep going and just be persistent. So in summary, what I can say is you've got to think about before you start. Do some research, find out who's in the area. Think about what you want to get out of the lessons. Then have that flow into what you actually are doing in the lesson. Try and direct the lesson a little bit, but obviously whilst listening to your teacher, and really learn stuff that you want to do. You know, I'm always happy to say to people, okay, how about we do Blackbird by the Beatles, for example? And if they go, listen man, I hate that song, I would much rather do this, that's totally fine. It's their lesson, it's not my lesson, you know? So be prepared to come up with some ideas sometimes. And the other thing in that middle section is always ask the teacher to provide clear charts, instructions, videos, whatever you want, some content to help you get to the next level. Then after the lesson, create a practice schedule for yourself. When you're practicing, have focus. Focus on doing one thing at a time. And lastly, be patient. Don't expect yourself to get it the very first time or even the 5th time. Thanks very much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. If you would be able to subscribe, you can click the bell as well and you'll get notifications of new lessons every week. There are 2 every week. If you're able to support the channel, please do. You can go to www.patreon.com/Simon Morel. Plans start there from as little as $3 a month, which just helps me continue to invest in the lessons and make them better and better, better looking, better sounding. I do really appreciate your support over there. So keep practicing. Good luck with the lessons, and I will see you next time. All the best. Bye for now.